Yes.
Is Paper Town still on the New York Times bestseller list? Or
Is Paper Town still on the New York Times bestseller list? I think it will be on this week, but it won't be on next week. That's all right. 3 weeks, though, is if you multiply, if you took the number of times my books ever came close to being on the New York Times bestseller list, and you multiplied that times the population of Rhode Island, you would still get less than 3. So, no, it's a great thing. 3 weeks is really, really good if you don't write about dragons. 3 weeks is like... good, considering that like my work has fastidiously avoided both dragons and vampires.
I go through and I highlight all the places where it could be improved by dragons and vampires. So you can see how he needs to sort of spice it up. Human novels. Dragon here.
There's one Harry Potter. I did put in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
In Paper Towns, was there a wizard rock reference? I noticed that Dawson's buddies were named Ace and the Carpenter, and Alex Carpenter's nickname happens to be Ace.
Wow, no. No, that's a total coincidence. I mean, that's an interesting thing, though, that you asked about. She asked if there was a Wizard Rock connection to Paper Towns. Wizard Rock, of course, is songs written about Harry Potter. Hank is a wizard rocker, I would say, arguably. Hank writes songs about other books, too, but that's mine. That's the versioning genre of grok, green rock. I'm patiently awaiting it really blowing up, but it'll happen, it's not, so the question was, if there's a part of Paper Towns where these two urban explorers, people who break into abandoned, long abandoned buildings, there's two guys are called Ace and the Carpenter. No, I mean, I called them that because every time I've met urban explorers, they have names like Ace and the Carpenter. Like, they have clearly fictional names, but they refer to themselves that way not only when they're urban exploring, but like when they're having coffee. You know, like, hey, the Carpenter, get me some cream. So I'm very interested in that subculture. Yes?
I kind of have two questions, if that's okay, because one is serious and one is about your glasses. What happened to the other glasses? Because suddenly on the YouTube videos they were gone, and I was like, did I miss the story?
I used to have these very thick plastic rim glasses that I got rid of because I fell face first into the Baltic Sea. I was trying to jump, and I fell, and they hit rocks, and they got really scratched up, and I couldn't see out of them. But I still wore them for like 2 more weeks because glasses are expensive. But then finally I just couldn't see. I still have them, but I can't see out of them, so they're kind of useless.
Okay, another question. I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget.
That's helpful.
Okay, it says, do you intend to have any meaning in your books, or do you just intend to have it there and you want people to experience it for themselves?
Is the meaning intentional, or, and like, do I want to like force it down your throats?
Yeah, I guess, because, yeah. Because you're talking about in English, that's where it came from, my lit class.
Oh, because of all this, is the question related to, do authors intend for all that English stuff to be in their books and for us to be forced down our throats by our horrible English teachers? I mean, you're not going to like my answer. I'm going to tell you that right up front. Yes, we intend, like, I'm glad that you laughed about Black Santas, but Black Santas are also a symbol throughout the novel, one of hopefully many. Yes, we intend for all that English stuff to be there, and yes, we want your English teachers to force it down your throats. Not so much because I'm not going to argue that it enhances the reading experience for you in the short run, but like maybe when you're reading Gatsby now in class and you're like, oh my God, if they talk one more time about that billboard, I'm gonna stab my eyes out or whatever. But eyes. Thinking Gatsby. That's the first place I would go if I wanted to get rid of that book in my mind. You know, all that stuff. I understand that it can like subtract from the reading experience while you're reading the book that time, but when you read the book later, it becomes better. And we have to learn how to, I would argue that we have to learn how to read critically, because all that English stuff, symbol and metaphor and allusions, all that stuff isn't just about text isn't just about English, it's also about being a person. Like, I think English classes are ultimately past the point of like literacy. Like, once we all know how to like read words and turn them into ideas, I think English classes are about how to be a person living in a world that's full of other people. And one of the things that books are uniquely good at is allowing us to kind of occupy someone else's life in a somewhat broad way, like more broad than I'm able to occupy your life now in this context, right? So I think that they're really good at that. And I also think that non-literal communication, all that metaphor and symbol stuff, we do that all the time in our real lives. Like when I'm like sitting around thinking about stuff, I'm always thinking about stuff in non-literal ways. Like I'm always comparing X to Y and trying to understand Y better by thinking about what X means. And so I think that's a really poor example. But I can't think of a better one. So yeah, I would argue for all that English stuff. And I mean, I want my books to be fun to read. Like, I want them to be like Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye is really fun to read whether or not you know that the red hunting cap is the same color as his dead brother's hair. Like, whether or not you recognize that, Catcher in the Rye is a good, heart-rending book. When you do recognize it, I would argue that like it sort of tears you up even more, which is good.